Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to be diving into logo design and branding, both some theory and ideas, and then also how to incorporate those elements into your teachable school. And please hop in the comments like you already are. Excuse me, 1 second. Please hop in the comments. Let me know that you're here. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Want to call out a few people. Pamela, thank you for being here. We got Cocoa, sorry if I'm mispronouncing, Anthony, Sarah from the UK. Everyone is tuning in. Let me know if you can hear and see me all right. Want to make sure that all of that is good before we dive in. I see quite a few people who are tuning in. If you don't know where you are today, we are talking today about logo design, how to create a logo for free, and then how to incorporate your logo and your brand elements into Teachable. It's going to be a fun day. We got a whole lot to dive into. Some more people tuning in from France, from the UK, from Detroit. I love all of this. It's so great to have you all here. And please use that comment section. Let me know where you're at, like maybe as you are, if you have a logo, if you have a teachable school, if you're just starting out. I like to see where everyone is at before we dive in. And also feel free to ask any questions throughout the presentation. If I don't answer them right away, I'm not ignoring you. I promise. We have set aside some time at the end after I do my whole presentation where we can do a proper Q&A, answer any questions you might have before moving on. And before we dive in as well, I wanted just to call out our past events. If you haven't seen, we've done a couple events so far in the last few weeks. We dove into branding in general, email lists, why they're so important, and also incorporating all of those aspects into your teachable school. So after this event, if you didn't catch those, go check out the Spotlight YouTube. We're doing a ton of events, and next week we actually have 3 lined up. And one of them, we're going to be sitting down with Kay Putnam as well, who's a master at branding. So if you attend today's event, I am positive that this coming Thursday's event will be valuable for you. I'll talk about that a little at the end as well. It looks like everyone can hear and see us all right. So let's dive in. Like I said, today we are talking about how to create a logo for free, some branding advice in general, and then in the end, we'll get into adding all of that stuff to your Teachable account. But let's just start with a little bit of theory and ideas around branding and logos. So, why is a logo and clear branding important? First off, it establishes legitimacy. It makes you look professional and stand out among other brands. It helps communicate your purpose. A good logo, whether it's subtle or whether it's obvious, can communicate to your audience and collaborators what your purpose is and what your brand's goals are. It can also communicate the personality of you as the creator or your business. So it's highly valuable for just one look, immediately telling customers and people who you are, your personality, and what your purpose is. It also provides you with a guide. If you get clear on your brand elements early on, anytime you're creating lead magnets, courses, PDFs, any of those things, you don't have to ask design questions and start from scratch every time. You already have those things established and you can just work them into your products. And last but not least, like I said, it makes your business truly you. Creating a logo and brand elements that not only are clever and communicate your purpose, they should also communicate your personality. Especially nowadays, marketing is so dependent on personality when there's so many people out there on the internet offering similar products as you. Often, what customers want is they want to buy products from people that they can relate to. So, couple reasons why having brand clarity, whether it's your logo or your colors or how it's integrated into your school and website and all of that, couple reasons that's important. So let's dive in first to choosing your brand colors. Now, hop into the comments. Let me know if you already have brand colors, if you've been playing around with ideas like this, if you've dove into any of the brand psychology or things like that. But on the, I guess, on my left, your right here, you're going to see one version of a color psychology guide. I highly recommend looking up something like this. You can simply type into Google color psychology guide, and it's going to tell you people have done endless research into what certain colors evoke, what emotions they evoke, what kind of imagery or symbolism people associate with those colors. It may seem a bit heady at first. I don't want you to go too much into the rabbit hole here or to make decisions solely based on this psychology. It's also important that you choose colors you like. If you hate baby blue or if you hate green, maybe look at other colors that have similar psychological like evocations and choose those. But I recommend you either screenshot this page or you can come back to it in the replay. There will be a replay of all of this, so don't fret if I'm moving a little fast. And once again, you can also look this up in Google. Take a minute with a piece of paper, and I recommend only choosing three colors. Not necessarily including black and white, because we'll talk about how you will need black and white versions of your logos for various places. Pamela here is saying, yes, hate pink, right? So, Pamela, pink may not be there for you, but there are aspects of pink that are also in red and also in navy. Some of the opposing colors have similar like emotions that they stir, even though they're a little subtle. So, homework after this event, sit down with a brand psychology chart, a color guide, and try and choose three colors that represent your brand from the emotions they evoke in people. Now, I'll talk quickly about why I chose my brand colors. I have three brand colors here. I have a blue, a gray, and an orange. Now, let me make this a little bigger for myself. Uh, so blue has a tendency to evoke perspective and awareness. I am a audio engineer and musician, so I work in the field of helping people produce their podcasts, their YouTube channels. I also help bands produce albums and stuff. But perspective and awareness is something that I like to evoke, so my customers know that I'm aware of everything that's happening in the industry. I can be seen as an authority in the podcasting and YouTube live event space industry. So I really liked blue. I took a long time to choose which blue, and it always takes forever to settle on something. But I ended up with this one. I will say I also tried to go with kind of retro ish, like cassette tape colors to call back to a little more of my music background. Next, I chose a gray, which has a tendency to evoke a more professional and accurate emotion for people when they see it. And last was an orange. The blue and orange act more as highlight colors. So for it says I'm a little more playful, a little more social, and that I can also be motivating. So I'm aware that the work I make for clients will be motivating and create a relationship with their clients. And then next to it, you can see, I'm sorry it's a little small, but you can see kind of how these brand colors play out on just one of the pages, one of my sales pages in my Teachable School. I have the highlight color in my videos, that blue. All the text is the gray, although I did darken it a little bit for visibility. So we always got to keep visibility in mind with logos. And then the orange I use for a lot of my links and the like. Just checking in on the comments and yes, yes, love it. Okay, you're all here. Staying involved. I'm gonna try and keep up with you all, but you're moving fast. I love it. Keep dropping your thoughts in there. Also, I'm not above critique. Feel free at any time in this to let me know what you think of my brand choices. I love hearing other people's opinion. Getting feedback is super important. So Once we have our brand colors, which may take a minute, but again, I don't want you to get obsessed with your brand colors too much. Focus on these genres of colors. So, blues, oranges, grays, those kind of things. Choose three, and you can always reevaluate and always should be as your business grows and changes. Now, when it comes to your brand logo, the first thing you want to do is choose some brand symbolism. And reductive design is key. So, throughout all of this, we're going to be thinking about what is the simplest way to convey the emotion, to convey our purpose, to convey our personality. So, a couple things to look for when you're choosing your brand symbolism. Start with you. Ask yourself what imagery or symbols that are in your life or in your business that make sense for your brand or your personality, right? We want to represent our personality and our business at the same time. So, we're looking for those symbols that kind of live in both worlds. Then you should look around you. Think about symbolism within the collective consciousness. It's super common. I see early creators start picking really niche symbolism. And although that can be good because it communicates very directly to your audience exactly what you're doing, you also want to think about what imagery and symbolism is already out there in the collective consciousness. What do we all see and immediately get an idea? And it doesn't necessarily have to be like in how do I want to say this? It doesn't have to be in Congress with it. You can also, depending on your personality, choose a symbol that's in contrast with what people might expect. That can be a powerful tool. But again, you want that to be clear. Tongue in cheek is only really valuable if it's clearly communicated and your audience can move with you through that process. And like I mentioned before, think simple. So look for the simplest design for a symbol that can still capture its meaning. A logo can be placed anywhere from on a giant billboard to a tiny little favicon at the top of a browser. And in all of those places, you want your logo to pop. We'll talk about having a few different versions of your logo, but in general, think as simple as possible. So if you want a logo to have a building in it, what's the simplest version of a building you can have? Or if it's a dog, what's the simplest version of a dog or a face or a person you can have in there? And then, last but not least, ask around. When you have some ideas for symbols and stuff, go to your friends, go to your family. If you have any sort of audience on social media, it doesn't have to be thousands, it can be hundreds, it can be tens of people. Post some stories, get on there, say, hey, what does this image evoke in your head? What does this color evoke? Like, what do these things do? You shouldn't leave it 100% to your audience to decide what your logo and colors and brand looks like, but it is so valuable to get other people's opinions. We shouldn't be living in a vacuum with all of this. So make sure when you're choosing symbolism to take a moment and try not to implant ideas in other people's head. The little suggestion I have, don't sit down and say, hey, I think this looks like this. What do you think? Start by just saying, what does this image make you think of? What does it make you feel? What does it bring up? And then compare that to what you had in your head or what you thought that person might say. So moving on a little bit, let's look at my logo and my brand. I've been through a bunch of different logos and I'm always a little bit unhappy, but I really, really dig my current logo. And we can kind of look here on the left is the symbolism that I was working with. I was looking for things that had to do with music, that had to do with recording, that had to do with, the kind of same emotions I evoked with my brand colors. So, like being clever, being aware, I had brains. And then, as far as personality, I was born in 1992. So, that's the year of the monkey. And then my parents always referred to me as a little chango, which is monkey in Spanish. I was a little rascal. I've always associated with the monkeys. So, I love the idea of the monkey. And as you can then turn on the right, I tried to choose just three or two in the end of these symbols that I could work in. So it may be a little hard to see, but I'll show some bigger versions in a minute. I chose the kind of Zen looking monkey, which was a element that was just in Canva. We'll look in that in a second. But I liked the idea of the playful monkey sitting down and being really thoughtful. Alchemy, I just want to call out quick 1992 here too. Woo! Thank you for being here. Love it. So I liked the idea of the Zen monkey kind of sitting down and having headphones on. My partner helped me design this logo, so I got to give out credit. She worked really hard with me back and forth, me going like, no, no, I don't like that. But again, I turned to a third party source to kind of help me hone in on that. She was super valuable in that process. So, some do's and don'ts in general for logo design. And we've covered a couple, but I gotta keep saying, keep it simple. Try and reduce your brand to three colors max, not including black and white, unless you're really settling into like a black and white brand. And then reductive design, look for simple versions of your symbolism, and you should not have to explain it to someone. So, once again, if you're presenting it to someone or anything like that, when you show it to them, their reaction, their emotions, not just one person, but when you play it across a few different people, should line up with what you thought it would be. And then think of placement. I mentioned this briefly, but where is your logo going to live? Is it going to be a big banner on your website? Is it going to be a tiny little circle on your Instagram account, right? All of these things are super important to think about, and where your logo is going to sit affects its visibility. So we can't come up with some crazy abstract design and then expect to squish it into a tiny little Instagram avatar and have everyone immediately recognize, oh, yeah, that's that brand or that person or that logo. Also, just want to call out quick. I love everything that's happening in the comments here. Y'all are just chatting back and forth. This is so freaking valuable for anyone watching the replay. Go check out the chat that's happening during the live. There is just nuggets of gold here already happening with people talking back and forth. And then last do for logo design is create alternatives. This plays a lot into placement. You're going to need a few different versions of your logo. And that can be it all depends on where it needs to be placed. So we're going to dive into that and specifically with Teachable in a second. But next, I just wanted to give a big level example. I'm sure you all know the logo on the right, Apple Computers, but you may have and you may not have seen on the left is Apple Computers' original logo. Although I like it as a piece of art and it would be kind of cool on a book or maybe even like a metal band album cover, it's crazy. But they sat down originally, Wozniak and Jobs, and were trying to come up with like a logo that represented every aspect of the company. So it may be a little hard to see, but in the frame, there is Newton sitting under the tree reading Isaac Newton, and above it is the apple glowing, about to fall on his head. So obviously, I can't speak for Wozniak and Jobs, but they were trying to think of invention. They were trying to think of reductive design. Newton was responsible for so much of the basic kind of equations in physics. So they wanted to say, we're a computer company that's always trying to wow and amaze and create something close to consciousness and close to the collective consciousness of intuitiveness. What is that intuitive design that we can capture? The Apple logo went through many different designs before it got to the one on the right. But why I love this example so much is the one on the right is it captures all of the same things. And it's a little subtle. You have the apple, which signifies Newton, which signifies most people think of apples as, as tasty. It's a beautiful shape. You immediately know what it is. I bet most people in the world would immediately know that's an apple. And then here's where I think it's so clever. And I'm super curious if you've ever dove into this before or thought about this before, but that little bite out of the apple is subtle but so effective. It's saying it's Newton's dive into the apple. It's Newton's intention into the apple. The apple has been affected. There is a design choice to say there's a human interaction happening with that natural product. So in this one little logo, they've managed to capture all of the same intention of their early logo, but without any of the crazy like madness around it. Pamela, other people are pointing out other logos for sure. Anthony is saying, didn't they also have issues with the Beatles Apple Corp? They did. There was a whole lawsuit. They won. Either way, not going to worry about that right now. They still came ahead. And that little bite in the apple was actually key to them winning that lawsuit. That was enough to place them aside. Not a lawyer to go into the details, but just want to call that out. So, huge part of this, and what I want to dive into is how we create a logo for free. Canva is a great source, so I'm going to be showing that off, and then how we can integrate our logo into our Teachable School. So, first things first, just want to take a look at the comments real quick. Is everyone with me? Everyone tagging along? Are there any questions that need to be answered right away? Susan was saying, why is there a bite out of the apple? I hope I answered that. I also highly recommend diving into that whole story. The head designer from Apple, I think, is an absolute genius. And a lot of that whole conversation is so valuable to logo design. Yep, people are pointing out Nike as well. Love it. Love it. Okay, seems like you are all with me. So I saw a couple people who have used Canva before, but hop in the comments. Let me know if you've used Canva, if you're familiar with it. I am not quote unquote a designer, but I've been using Adobe products like Illustrator and stuff since way back. And as soon as Canva came out, I was regrettably floored. I say regrettably because it is so easy that it makes the hours I spent in Illustrator seem kind of crazy. But man, it is just a beautiful platform where you can get started for free designing fantastic logos, pamphlets, PDFs. I am 100% positive we'll have future events working with other elements like courses and lead magnets where we use Canva. But for this one, we're going to be focusing on logos. So, real quick, I just want to take you through how easy it was for me to create my logo once I finally had that decision. So, once you get into Canva here, first you can see there are endless templates and beautiful things available. You can also do print products for merch and all sorts of stuff. We are not an affiliate of Canva, so everything I'm listing off here is me just being a nerd because I love how awesome this product is. But when I finally wanted to go create my logo, you can just go create design, say logo, and they have a bunch of kind of pre-made templates for you. And when you hover over it, you can see the size of it. So depending on how your logo is going to look, and you can always resize it, you can choose there. I just wanted an even square. And there you go. You're given a blank template. But I want to point out first on the left, there are like categorized a whole bunch of templates for you to work with. So, right off the bat, yeah, great place to look before you even dive into symbolism and all of this is just go make a Canva account. We have a link in the description below to start a Canva account for free and just look at what they have there. Often, and for other businesses I've started or other projects I've had, I've found a Canva template that was like 99% of the way there. And all I had to do was just manipulate it a little bit, put my brand elements in there. But when it came to my logo, I searched a monkey and I searched headphones. I found the monkey here. That's an element you can just pop in. Changing the color is as easy as this. And then when it came to putting the headphones on, this is where, side note, it got a little trickier and I got a little more obsessed than I'm going to show you today. But I just want to show you how easy it is to work in the platform. I chose these headphones and I was like, yeah, we can put them on him or her. I honestly don't know the gender of the monkey. On them. And super easy just to place them around. And then you can see little things like the ears were poking out. I didn't like that. So I could just quickly add a square, make it white, bring it down, drag it to that place. And then over here in position, just pop it behind the ears. I can copy and paste that square, bring it to the other side, and then pop it behind. And, I don't want to we are not doing a full, like, Canva tutorial today, but I just want to show you how easy it is to work in the platform. I got a little more obsessed and dove in and was creating other white shapes to make all of the headphones look more like an outline because I wanted it to match the monkey itself. I sat for quite a while debating if I just liked this. Excuse me. But the platform is so easy to work with. There are so many things available, and I highly recommend just playing around with it a little bit, getting familiar with the tools. Once you do create your logo, you can see there's even moving elements like animation. They have story templates. So once you have your brand colors and logos, it's super easy to create whatever assets you need wherever you need them. Now, when it comes to your logo, I mentioned earlier, you want to have multiple versions. So once I kind of had my brand kit where I had my colors that I chose and I had the logo that I wanted, we didn't talk about font selection because that's a whole thing in itself, but play around with fonts. Hey, quick call out. Ingrid Lyons, who's saying, I love that logo. She's the one who helped me design it. So want to give credit where it's due. But I just want to show you what kind of different styles of your logo you want to create. I recommend creating at least 3 different versions. So you can see here, my company is called JC Sound. I tried to do just a little one like this, looking at what it looks like a little bigger with different formatting, looking what kind of a badge or a circle logo might look like for an Instagram avatar or something like that. And then also just having a black and white version of the logo. That's super important for things like Favicons, which, if you don't know what a Favicon is, it's that little logo that shows up in the tab of a browser next to the name of a website. It's one of those tiny little details you might not pay attention to right away, but for someone, even subconsciously, when they encounter your brand, that's another place where they're just going to feel like you're really professional and you're really on it. Um, Alchemy with Ella. I'm glad this is fun and inspiring. I'm having such a good time. Everyone, you are so active. Anthony, yes, it's extremely easy. Oh, man. Everyone, thank you for being so active in the chat. Yes, gender-free monkey. Love it. um, so just to give an example, these are kind of the various ways you want to play with your logo. I ultimately chose to keep my logo in a black and white format and use my other brand colors to highlight other elements. But were you to rely more heavily on colors for your brand, I sat for a long time thinking about black and white because it doesn't immediately evoke an emotion, but I thought the symbolism was good enough. I like the cleanliness of black and white kind of going along with too the professional accuracy of the gray and black color theory. And then just to show a couple other ways where that comes into play, I laid out banners for like YouTube or Facebook. So you can see I was playing around with what the banner for my actual academy would be on Teachable. I'll show you in a second how to actually add those images to Teachable. But you can see I'm just taking the logo, taking these few different versions and playing around with where it might show up. Another way Canva is so valuable is it does have a whole lot of different templates for Instagram stories, for YouTube banners, for all of these things. So you can simply go create a banner that you know is going to be the right size for where you need it to show up and play around with that design. So at least having a black and white version of your logo, and I mean one that is black primary, one that is white primary, so you can have over light backgrounds or dark backgrounds, is super valuable. And then having a couple different configurations so that it looks good in these different places where it's going to show up. I wanted to show you very quickly, too, how easy it is to export out of Canva. When you're exporting your logo, often you're going to want a transparent background or you're going to want it to show up in various places. So when you're in Canva and you need to export something, you can click share and then download. You have a whole bunch of different options available. In general, PNGs are super they work in most places and they can have a transparent background. So if you're trying to have your logo show up just over a menu bar or something, you can just click transparent background, and then you can choose if you want all of these pages or just one to export. Once it's exported, it's super easy to upload to your Teachable account. So Canva just is the perfect place to play with logo design. I can't I really can't promote it enough. Again, this isn't an advertisement. I'm just absolutely obsessed with Canva and how easy it's made my life to make my brand look professional and inviting and incorporate all of those brand elements wherever I need it. So, a couple more things I want to call out about why I love Canva. It's super easy to organize things. So, within your account, you can have a multiple folders for different brands. So, I have a whole folder here just for my JC Sound, my company. And then you can see I've created specific teachable elements. So, these are all formatted specifically for the places in Teachable that I'll need them. In most cases, YouTube banners and stuff like that are just the right size for things you need. So you can see here, I have a couple course thumbnails. I have taken my logo and put it in exactly the ways that I'll need it for Teachable. And then I've also created the banners for the JC Sound Academy the way that I'll need them. And last but not least, within Canva, one of my favorite things is you can create a brand kit. So this is kind of like a folder, but it's a place where you can house your logos, your brand colors, and your brand fonts all in one easily accessible place. So often when I'm working on my website or in my what am I in my Teachable School or on my YouTube or anything like that, anywhere where I need my brand like elements readily available, I I have this tab open and I have all of the colors easy there to copy and paste. And then also the beauty of this is when you're working within Canva, I can show you real quick. Your logos will all show up right here. You can have multiple brand kits. So they're super easy to pop onto a new design. And anytime you're trying to change the color of something, your brand colors will be right there and available for you depending on which brand kit you have. So for the brand kit alone, Canva is incredible. And Sarah, real quick, you're saying you can resize with Canva, but still doesn't seem to fit within Teachable. Sarah, if you can let me know exactly the place you're trying to fit your logo or design, I can give you a little advice there. I have had to like adjust where my logo is. So if it's showing up a little too, let me see if I can show, if it's showing up with like, say I exported this and tried to upload it as a favicon, that's actually going to cut off the edges and stuff. So the beauty of having that transparent background is it gives you some buffer. You can just make the logo smaller, center it, and then export it with a transparent background, and then it'll format correctly because you have that buffer around the outside even though it's transparent. So feel free, especially in the Q&A. How you doing, content? You can just you just ask. I would love to be your friend. Um, he's a dear friend, by the way. So Sarah, please let me know exactly where you're trying to format that to. I can try and help answer that a little more clearly. I would love if Teachable could get Canva to have teachable specific things, but if nothing else, we'll try and provide that as a resource in the future. It's super easy, though, to play around with these elements in Canva, export, re-upload until you get it exactly the way you want. So, is everyone with me? Everyone's still following along. I'm going to catch up in the comments real quick here. Love it. Everyone, you are so engaged. I am loving this. Yes. So, Anthony, you can export multiple versions for different platforms. I often will, it's super easy just to duplicate a whole design. So, if I have, sorry, I'm losing my mouse here. If I have a, let me find my home here. If I have a whole brand, like basically my whole logo kit here, I can just make a copy of that. And then resizing is super easy. Up here, you have resize. You can choose what you want that size to. They also have a bunch of recent ones, or then a bunch of just templates in available for sizes, ready and available. And you can actually just select one and choose copy and resize. That's going to create a whole new document and resize it for you. Then you move your things around to fit that size, export it. Boom. It's super easy. My one big piece of advice there is just making sure to title things carefully, keeping organized, using those folders to keep everything in place. Does Canva make suggestions regarding suitable color swatches? Anthony, I'm going to answer that in a second. We have some additional like resources and stuff. Canva has a whole blog where they provide a lot of that. But I do have some additional resources with links in the description that I'll talk about right after we dive into where you add these in your Teachable School. So, looks like everyone is following along and is with me here. All right, let's dive in. So, once you have your logo, once you have your colors, or even if you just want to start playing around with how all of this stuff looks in your Teachable account, let's take a look at where you do that. So, this is roughly what your dashboard is going to look like when you log in. And we want to focus on the site section here. So, over on the left, you click site. And the first tab it's taking you to is called theme. If it isn't there right away, it's the top one. It's called theme. And this is where you're going to change your overall like branding for your entire Teachable School. So although you can make color changes and all that kind of stuff within the page editors, go check out our last event for how you use the page editor a little more. Although you can make all of those individual changes on every page, here you can make those sweeping changes that'll just automatically integrate into all of your pages. So for the logo, you can see I chose that badge logo. I liked the way that that showed up on my website. I'm going to point along the way here where these things actually show up. So this logo here, if you ever want to preview, on the top right, you hit preview, shows up here. So I did the black circle. It didn't matter too much here because I chose black as my background for my header bar, but I like the way that showed up. And then the school thumbnail. Your thumbnail is an image that represents your school on the Teachable dashboard. So I can actually go back here real quick. And you'll see that's where that shows up. So wherever your school is represented as just like the academy, that's where that banner pops up. And then the favicon, it's a little hard to see here. And this is my fault. I should probably go and upload a white one, but I was back and forth because a lot of people don't use the dark mode for Chrome, so I went with a black one, but that shows up right there. It's just the little monkey with his headphones. And oh, Sarah, you're asking real quick how I got to that theme page. I'll show you once more. So when you first log in, you're going to get to your dashboard, or let's even go a little further. When you first log in, you're going to get to your Teachable account here. You click on your school. It's going to open your school dashboard. Then you click site and then theme right there. So right up top is where you can add your logos, your thumbnail, and your favicon. I hope you can see now why these multiple versions of your logo are so valuable. You can see all the places where you need them. We're thinking about placement. We need that logo to show up in multiple places. And Sarah, like, yep, God, I love you guys are already interacting, talking about each other's logos. That's so awesome. For fonts, you can define the general font family for everything on your entire Teachable School. I chose the Open Sans for a lot of my smaller fonts and stuff. And then color palettes here, Teachable has some preset ones for you. And then down here, you're able to customize all the specific places that you actually want those colors to show up. So I am sticking mostly to those black, white, and gray themes, but then I use that orange and that blue for those kind of highlighted accent places. And just to call back real quick, this is a great place, right? You don't know what your brand color is. If you have that brand kit right there, it's as easy as copy and pasting the hex color over to it. So once again, I just want to take a look at my Teachable School, which is a JC Sound Academy. And let's just look at some of the places where the logo and colors are showing up. So you can see that big, beautiful banner there. You can see that all my links are going to be in that blue color. And then a lot of my buttons and titles for things are going to be in that orange. So you can see how you start to go all across. If we go to my website real quick, just want to illustrate how easy it is. This is my website, which I built elsewhere, although I am currently migrating most of it over to Teachable because, as we talked about in the last event, Teachable actually, you can build an entire website with it. I love the idea of having everything in one place. But you can see if you already have a website where these brand elements are incorporated, when you click on my courses and it takes you to my Teachable page, it all just looks succinct, it looks professional, it's all in the same vein, and I love it. And I did all of this just using Canva and Teachable to make everything work together. All right. Is everyone with me? Are we all following along here? Is this making sense? I want to take a look. Uh, I want to take a look here, make sure everyone's following. Love it. Yeah, you guys are so cool. You're all just talking to each other, commenting on each other's logos and stuff. Sarah, you said course image seems to cut off the edges. Right. So in Canva, you can try and think of the canvas itself. So if I go back here, kind of like I was saying, think of the canvas as your overall buffer, and then you can try manipulating, making the elements within a little smaller or larger. So if nothing else, you could select everything and try and shrink it down a little, export that with a transparent background, and that's going to work as a buffer to kind of keep all of those elements in place. Uh, Love it. Love it. All right. Everyone is following along and cruising with me. So I wanted to just show off a couple additional resources here real quick. And links to these are all in the comments. First and foremost, Kay Putnam, who we've had on a few times in various events, she specializes a lot in helping businesses brand them stuff. She works a lot in psychology and all of those elements that can really help a brand stand out. She has a fantastic quiz to help you determine your brand archetype. She's sectioned brands into archetypes. These archetypes then provide you with information that help you choose colors, help you choose logos, all of that sort of stuff. If you click the link in the description and go to the bottom of the page, you can take her quiz. I highly recommend going there. I went through it and it gave me a lot of clarity in those first stages of choosing like colors and symbology, having a little idea for what my archetype was or what my purpose was as a brand, and having a third party perspective helped get me out of my own head a little bit and help me make more informed choices. Now, calling back, I'm sorry I forget who exactly asked this question, but to some other like resources as far as color psychology and stuff. There's also a link there to a whole article, Color Psychology in Marketing. This goes through all different brands you may know that have various colors that are super common and evoke certain emotions. So, this is a fantastic resource if you really want to dive into the color theory and looking for maybe how one or two colors, and yeah, really even just one color, can accurately represent your brand. And then the last thing we have there is Canva actually has a color palette generator built into it. And you can use this by the way it's built to work is you can upload an image. Say you have a headshot or something, or a an outfit you normally wear, and you want to like sync your brand with that, which a really clever way to keep everything on brand is to use colors that you interact with a lot daily in life. You can upload an image and it'll give you a complementary color palette from that image, or they also have endless beautiful palettes already there. The one bit of advice I would give you when you're choosing a like preset palette or a palette that already exists is still go through that bit of research where you're making sure that these colors do represent your brand. You may like how they look just in a palette, but make sure to play around with them in all the different places they're going to be. You can't really make those choices fully informed and be happy with it until you give yourself the opportunity to see your brand out in the wild. That's one reason why I love how easy it is to use the teachable theme section. Because when you're starting to play around, you can really easily upload different versions of your logos, your thumbnails, and your favicon, and then just go preview them right away, see what they look like. You can have that Canva tab and your Teachable tab open and just be hopping back and forth until you find something you really love. All right, everybody, that is the majority of my presentation there. I hope everybody is getting value out of this, and I now we can open up to Q&A. I did just want to point out once more that we have a few links in the description. First off, we have, if you don't have a Teachable account and you're here today, you can start a Teachable account for free and start playing around with all of these. We have a link in the description for that. We also, if you have a Teachable account and you've built a lot of these elements and you're looking for further help on how to actually sell your course and coaching products and other products you have on Teachable, we made a free PDF that is super extensive, walking through a bunch of different strategies and theories proven by creators that work for selling your courses and growing your email lists, all of those things involved with marketing yourself. Grab that PDF. It's super helpful and links back to a bunch of spotlight events we've done with specific snippets of creators talking in depth about the topics there. And then also those additional resources I mentioned, Kay Putnam's quiz, a whole article on choosing your brand colors, and the color palette generator. All of those things are in the description. So just want to call that out before we go into the Q&A. But start dropping your questions. I want to dive into everything. I can't see some of the earlier questions. So if I didn't answer your question earlier, please pop it in now. All right, I'm going to just start working through these here. So Sarah Edwards is asking, would you say simplicity is key in terms of course thumbnails too? Presumably we can preview how everything looks to the client. Yes. So you absolutely can preview how all of this stuff looks to the client. I'm going to hop back in here real quick. When you go to preview anything from your theme page or in any page on Teachable, on the upper left hand, you have this option here to preview as the public, preview as a student, or as an admin. So you have the option to see what people are actually seeing, your students, you, or the public, wherever you put those things. And although simplicity is key all the way through, it with your course thumbnails and things like that, I think it's a bit more important that they call out exactly what that course is about. So over here, we can see this is the thumbnail for my school in general. But if we look at the thumbnails for my courses, the actual course thumbnails, I don't have my logo in there. These are just stock images that call out exactly like what the course is about. I'm trying, this is a course for becoming a music producer, and I wanted the mic, the headphones, and then I wanted just a clear title. So, yes, simplicity is key, but I would definitely recommend not just to throw your logo absolutely everywhere once you have it. Continue to think, what is the purpose of this image? What is the purpose of this design? And making the simplicity concept work for that. So communicating easily to them. All right. And then Anthony, you're asking if you can put in CMYK values. In general, most of these things work on hex. But there's plenty of converters out there that you can use to go back and forth between the two. Let me know if there's a specific place you were looking to input those CMYK colors. But in general, you may have to use some color converters, but they've gotten really good at this point. And then Sarah is asking again, is there anywhere within Teachable support that identifies the sizes of different images within schools? Yes, I will drop a link in the comments and the description. I will grab that for you, but we do have definitions for all of those sizes. Like I said, I mostly use YouTube thumbnails for all of those course thumbnails. Those work really good. So I found in Canva, the YouTube thumbnail is ideal for all of that. Otherwise, I default to squares often because a lot of things like avatars or thumbnails in general are going to be in that square format. Shannon, thanks for hopping by. Have a wonderful class. It's been a blast. All right. Feel free to keep dropping questions in there. We have a few more minutes to keep diving in. I did want to once again call out our past events real quick. If you haven't attended some of these events in the past, we've been trying to get really focused at Spotlight on helping you develop your teachable school and all of the skills you need. So, just to highlight, if you go to the Spotlight YouTube here, we have done 2 events already. We did a whole event focused on building an email list, why it's important, some ways you can do that, and how to set up a teachable homepage where you can start capturing leads. Super easy before you even start creating course products or anything like that. We also did a whole event about creating a free course or free mini course as a lead magnet. Once you have a place to capture emails, it's really important to start offering value to capture those emails. So go check out those past events. And oh, Emma, this is a great question. So Emma is asking, do graphic designers have a problem with Canva as it must impact on their logo creation business? Oh, Emma. I know Emma. That's funny. That got me with the comment about my dad. Hi, thank you for being here. Um, I've talked to a bunch of different designers, and I think the consciousness has changed over time. I, of course, highly recommend hiring designers and all of that when you can. In the creator economy, it's so important to support each other, and especially with resources like Upwork and Fiverr, you can get people services for really affordable. And the other beauty about hiring people is it's a great way to grow your network. A little tip, anyone you hire or that hires you, you should ask if you can add them to your email list. Think of every time you work with another creator or any specialist as an opportunity to grow your community. So, from that perspective, I always recommend working with designers and people who specialize in that. But the reality is sometimes we have a vision that's too specific to hire a designer for the amount of time it would take, or we just don't have the cash to hire someone, and we shouldn't let that hold us up when we're just trying to get started. You can always make a bunch of money and then hire a designer to revamp stuff down the road. But in general, a lot of the designers that I've talked to in the last few years have gone from being pretty upset with Canva and the way it disrupted the industry to a lot of them actually using Canva. So even if they don't use or present their final designs to their customers in Canva, they'll often use Canva as a quick way to like mock up drafts for the client. So say here's a playbook of like 9 different like logos you might like, and then once the client chooses one, they dive in, get really specific and create that custom logo for the client. So most designers I know at this point have really embraced Canva. It's just too good of a tool to kind of lay by the wayside. And a lot of those designers have also found that by using Canva, they cut down on their time, they make more money for their time, and they still produce high quality products. And at the end of the day, when they actually get into custom software like Illustrator and stuff, they have the know how to really provide 100% custom design. Um, all right, everyone, it looks like we answered all your questions. We do have to wrap up for today, but if you're watching live or if you're watching the replay, feel free to come back and drop any questions you might have in the comments. I'll do my best to come back and answer them. And also keep an eye out for future Spotlight events. We're going to be expanding on this topic, branding in general, and other ones in the future. There is also a link in the description to sign up for our newsletter. That way, you'll automatically get updated for those events. And if you're just looking for specific events, that same link down there for the Spotlight website, you can see what upcoming events are happening. We have 3 next week. On Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the secret sales tip that all successful creators use. We're going to be diving into sales copy and how to turn your sales copy into benefit-focused transformational sales that will really impact your bottom line and start selling as well as holding you accountable by making real promises that you can keep to your customers and clients. And then on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about 2 strategies creators use to grow their email lists. We're going to be looking at newsletters and email based courses, which are really great ways not only to grow your email list, but also to continue nurturing it. Just growing an email list is not enough. You got to keep people engaged and involved and delighted to stick around with you so they're not just unsubscribing after they've gotten whatever little freebie they want or things like that. And then on Thursday, I am super stoked. We are going to be sitting down and talking to Kay Putnam specifically about growing your audience without focusing on social media. Kay has done a lot of work developing a whole strategy using quizzes and various social media marketing to focus on growing her email list and using email marketing as her primary source of marketing. Yes, she has social media, but we really, really appreciate Kay's approach because she hasn't just said at the end of the day, now become an influencer. She's developed a really clever system that's super unique to what I've seen in how to continue growing without just having to become a social media influencer. So those are our 3 events next week. If you want to sign up for any of them, go to spotlightapp.io. The link is in the description and you can sign up so you get notified about when those events are starting. And please hop in the comments right now. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if you have any residual questions and anything else. It has been an absolute blast hanging out with you all, talking design and logos, all of this. I hope you find it helpful. And if you go and design a logo or you apply anything you learned from today, come back to the video, pop in the comments, put a link to your logo, put a link to your Teachable School. We want to see what you're working on. So please come back and share it with us. We love seeing what value you take from these events and how you use it. So please, please, please come back and share what you're working on or your existing schools. We want to see all of that. And if you had a good time today, please like and subscribe to the Spotlight YouTube channel. We're consistently trying to bring content to you that helps you grow your business, helps you develop your courses and curriculum and coaching products, and turns you into an online creator that is actually building a business online. Last but not least, if you don't have a Teachable account, once more, there's a link in the description. You can sign up for free. It's totally free. You can start playing around with all of these things, experimenting, seeing what the platform looks like, both for you as a creator and as students. You can do everything from building your website on there to offering coaching and course products. So I highly recommend signing up there and just playing around with the product, signing up for the newsletter where we're going to be offering continual webinars like this to help you develop the products. Everyone, it's been a blast. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm glad this was useful for you. Look out for those events next week. It's been a delight. And I hope you have a wonderful day. See you soon.